This episode of Extra Mythology depicts acts of intense cartoon violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Myths are not stories that are untrue. Rather, they are tales that don't fit neatly into the historical record, which serve as a foundation to a culture. A procession leads a woman up the steps of a great pyramid. This woman is to be the queen of the Mexica, a new tribe of migrants that have come from a faraway place. However, no wedding will occur, for the Mexica's patron god, Huitzilopochtli, has other intentions. The people of Mexica had come from a faraway place in the north. Their god, Huitzilopochtli, was a god of war. But through all their travels and struggles, they had not yet found a home. But Huitzilopochtli, god of bloody victory, promised them a city. In a booming voice spoke from heaven, he said, "I will lead you. When you come to a place I deem fit, I will alight as a white eagle. This place you will settle, and build a great city to honor me. Then you will become conquerors and wander no longer." So the Mexica traveled with Xochitl, Huitzilopochtli's sister, who led them in person. She was a sorcerer, vicious and cruel. At night, she would steal men away and place them in front of poisonous spiders, and use scorpions and insects to inflict all manner of torments on the Mexica people. Finally, they had had enough, and prayed to Huitzilopochtli, who proclaimed, "My people are to rule with weapons, not witchcraft." And he instructed them to abandon her in the night. When she awoke all alone, she was furious. The people would abandon her, sister of Huitzilopochtli, her, sorceress supreme. This would not stand, but she was patient, and her vengeance was long. She settled in a nearby village and gave birth to a son, who she taught magic and told him of his uncle's betrayal. He swore revenge and tracked the Mexica down to their camp on a hill called Chapultepec, near the Great Lake of Texcoco. And he visited all the nearby nations and rallied them to his cause. His armies in place, they advanced on the Mexica, while he climbed a nearby hill to survey the field. But Huitzilopochtli knew all, and he sent some of his priests to covertly climb the hill for an ambush. As the sorcerer looked down on his forces closing in on the outnumbered Mexica, the priests crept up behind and seized him. He fought with spells and a warrior's strength, but they were too many. He was laid low, and one priest cut open his chest, pried out his heart, and presented it to Huitzilopochtli, who ordered them to throw it as far as possible into the lake. So the priest wound up, and with all the strength he could muster, flung it towards the far body of water, and watched it fall in the midst of a marshy island. Still, the Mexica people were overwhelmed and fled, and eventually they reached a city south of the lake called Colhuacan, and after some time, they were settling and intermarrying with the people there. Huitzilopochtli, however, was not pleased with this friendship, because after all, he was a god of war, not of amicable relations. So he said to his priests, "You must leave this place and show the world your bows and arrows, your swords and shields. Ask the king for his daughter's hand in marriage. She will become the woman of discord and cause for war." The priests did so, and the king was delighted for his princess to become a queen. But that night, Huitzilopochtli spoke to his priests again, saying, "I demand you sacrifice her in my honor. Flay her and dress a boy in her skin, wearing her clothes." And so, the wedding procession traveled up the steps of a pyramid, but before reaching the summit, the priests led the princess away to a sacrificial slab. And there, a priest cut open her chest and removed her still-beating heart, holding it up for Huitzilopochtli to see. They then flayed her skin and chose a boy to wear it, just as their god had commanded. When the king arrived, they took him into a darkened room where he prepared to make offerings of flowers and quail. There, the boy danced, and the king thought it was his daughter. But when he lit some incense, the flame shot upward, and in the light, he saw what had been done. He fled the room shouting, "The Mexica have murdered my daughter and flayed her skin! Take up arms and kill them! Erase their names! The Mexica gathered their warriors and drew their weapons, but the army of Culhuacan fell upon them, and they shattered before the tide. The Mexica fled to the shores of Lake Texcoco, and the warriors threw their shields into the lake to use as rafts. Men, women, and children climbed aboard, and the people rowed out to the swampy islands in the midst of the lake. And there, hidden among the reeds, they huddled in silence until the danger had passed. As the Mexica crept through the marshes, they encountered a spot of dazzling whiteness. The cypress trees, reeds, rushes, and even the frogs and snakes were a brilliant white. As they looked around in awe at such beauty, they came across a nopal cactus, which had grown at the spot where the sorcerer's heart had landed long ago. And upon it was Huitzilopochtli, in the form of a white eagle eating a snake. When the Mexicans approached, he bowed and said, "My children, this is the place. This is Tenochtitlan." They had found their home. The people wept with joy and prostrated themselves on the ground, blessed to find their homeland at last, thanking their patron god, Huitzilopochtli, who had shown them the way. And from here, they would rebuild and emerge not as a wandering tribe, but as a conquering empire. Wow, that story went from Slayer levels of bloodshed all the way to Dream Theater-esque serenity. I think our mythological metal journey just went full circle. Legendary thanks to patron Kyle Murgatroyd.